पाकिस्तान पीपल्स पार्टी के चेयरमैन बिलावल भुट्टो जरदारी ने कहा कि भारत के जिन ग्रुप्स पर तहफ़्फ़ुज़ात हैं उस हवाले से हाल ही में हम FATF के तहत सख्त अमल से गुजर रहे हैं। FATF में आलमी बरादरी ने इन ग्रुपों के खिलाफ पाकिस्तान के इक़दाम की तस्दीक की है। भारतीय मीडिया को इंटरव्यू में बिलावल भुट्टो जरदारी का कहना था कि पाकिस्तान किसी ग्रुप को मुल्क के अंदर या बाहर दहशतगर्द हमलों की इजाज़त नहीं देता। पाकिस्तान गुज़श्ता कई दिहाइयों से दहशतगर्दी का शिकार है और पाकिस्तान दहशतगर्दी के खिलाफ जंग लड़ रहा है। दहशतगर्दी के खिलाफ जंग में 52,000 पाकिस्तानियों ने अपनी जानें कुर्बान की। उन्होंने कहा कि गुज़श्ता बरस दहशतगर्दी के 200 से ज्यादा वाक़यात पेश आए, 1200 से ज्यादा अफराद जाँ बहक हुए। पाकिस्तान में दहशतगर्द हमले रवा बरस भी जारी हैं। दहशतगर्दी के हवाले से ये साल पाकिस्तान की तारीख में बदतरीन साल है। मैं खुद दहशतगर्दी का शिकार रहा हूँ और पहलगाम दहशतगर्द हमले का दर्द महसूस कर सकता हूँ।
Hello and welcome to a special interview for The Wire. After the horrific Pahalgam terror attack in April, there's only one key question the Indian audience want answered, and that question will be my principal focus today. Why does Pakistan permit groups like the Lashkar-e-Taiba and the Jaish-e-Mohammed to periodically carry out terror attacks on India? My guest is uniquely placed to answer that question. He's a former Foreign Minister of Pakistan and Chairman of the Pakistan People's Party, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. Both his mother and grandfather were Prime Ministers of Pakistan. His father is the country's president. Mr. Bhutto Zardari, there's one question that I imagine the whole of India wants to hear you answer, and I want to make that question the key focus of this interview. Why does Pakistan permit groups like Lashkar-e-Taiba and the Jaish-e-Mohammed to periodically carry out terror attacks on India? It's been going on for 3 decades.
Thank you so much for having me, Karan. I really appreciate this opportunity, not only to speak to you, but through you to the people of India. As far as your question is concerned and the way that you phrased it, obviously I will disagree. Pakistan does not willingly permit the groups you mentioned or any group to conduct terrorist attacks outside of Pakistan, but also within Pakistan. We have, as you're well aware, faced the brunt of terrorism over the past many decades. Pakistan is fighting and has been fighting the largest inland war against terrorism. We've lost 92,000 lives altogether. Just last year, we lost more than 1,200 civilian lives in more than 200 different terrorist attacks. At the rate at which terrorist attacks are taking place just this year alone, if they continue at this pace, this year will be the bloodiest year in Pakistan's history. I too am a victim of terrorism. I feel the pain of the victims of the Pahalgam terrorist attack. I understand the trauma that their families are experiencing in a way more than many others can ever imagine.
I hear your answer, Mr. Bhutto Zardari. Let me, in response, quote General Musharraf, your country's former army chief, your country's former president. This is what he said to Dunya News, a Pakistani channel, on the 25th of October 2015. Speaking about the Lashkar-e-Taiba, he said, we supported them and trained them as they were fighting in Kashmir. Hafiz Saeed and Lakhvi were our heroes. And 4 months later, this is exactly what he said to India today on the 11th of February 2016. Inter-services intelligence trains Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba, and then he added, terror attacks will continue until India addresses the Kashmir issue. This is your country's former army chief and former president confirming that the Pakistani state is involved in terror against India.
I don't need to rehash with you my views on the former dictator, Pervez Musharraf. Suffice to say, as far as the history of terrorist groups in my region, LEJ and LET are one or two of them. There are other such terrorist groups where Pakistan had a policy as a result of the Cold War to support what at the time weren't perceived as terrorists or called terrorists. That word came about after 9/11. Before then, such groups were seen as freedom fighters. While the government, for example, in the context of Afghanistan and while fighting in the context of the Cold War, supported such groups within Afghanistan. Even at that time, mine and my mother's and my party's position was against this thought process.
No, forgive me, I don't like interrupting you because it's not kind to interrupt you. But
allow me to finish. I'll get to the point. Allow me to put the history.
Let me quote your father. He was president at the time when he spoke.
I'm not. Can I just complete my? Can I just complete my? Can I? Karan, we're going to have a lovely discussion that will hopefully last 35 minutes, but it'll only be possible if I'm also allowed to answer your questions. I promise I will. I'm not backing away from anything. I agreed to be part of this conversation because I believe it's important to talk to you, to talk to the people of India and chart the way forward. I'm not from the same generation as you are, and I don't want to see my generation that actually forms the majority of the populations on both sides of the border to be trapped by the past. So I'm willing to discuss this question and address the past, and then I hope we can focus more on how we chart a course together
Mr. Bhutto
for a better future. As far as the actions of Pakistan.
Your father to you, because this is what your father, and he was president at the time, said to the British newspaper The Telegraph on the 8th of July 2009. Let us be truthful to ourselves, he said, and make a candid admission of the realities. The terrorists of today were the heroes of yesteryear. And
Karan, come on. Karan, excuse me. If this is going to be a one-way streak, I will, as many of your other guests have done, please allow me. There's no contradiction whatsoever.
There is a contradiction because you were claiming that the terrorists were only...
No, you never allowed me to complete my point. So you don't... Karan, this is going to be a very unproductive conversation if it goes like this. I must either clarify at the outset that either we're going to have this conversation, which can end pretty quickly, or we can have a meaningful conversation. The quote that you were trying to present to me as a gotcha moment from my father is completely in line with what I have been consistently saying. We're not running away from what the past is, but we must not be bogged down in the past and ignore the reality either. Absolutely, Pakistan in the past, not only Pakistan alone, Pakistan, along with the international community and the dictator General Zia al-Haq, orchestrated the jihadification of Pakistan as a society so that we could fight their war in the context of Afghanistan.
But just a moment, it's not in the context of Afghanistan. That's what I keep disputing.
I'm getting to that, yaar. आप मुझे बात करने दे. मैं उस पे पहुंचूंगा जरूर. चलिए आप फैसला करें ना मेरे सवाल के जवाब क्या है मैं वही कह दूं.
मैं आपके सवाल के जवाब नहीं आपको बता रहा मैं ये कह रहा हूं कि you keep insisting it was in the context of Afghanistan and I'm pointing out to you.
It is, that's the root.
The context of India.
I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that. भाई आप मुझे बात करने दे. I promise you आपको अपना जो आप चाह रहे हो मुझसे सुनना वो मैं उसी पे आ रहा हूं.
जी बताइए.
I'm just explaining the root कि कहां से आया. हम आज तक क्यों सफर कर रहे हैं ना सिर्फ एलईटी और एलईजे के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में मगर मेला मुल्क में टीटीपी के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में अलकायदा के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में दाइश के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में बीएलए के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में ये तमाम this entire issue of terrorism that we are facing in the subcontinent today is a direct result of what happened in Afghanistan. And I'm going to explain to you why. All these groups, whether it's Al-Qaeda, whether it is these groups that you have mentioned, they trace their past to the Afghan Jihad. Once the Afghan Jihad was over, some groups decided that they were going to set up shop in Al-Qaeda and attack 9/11. Other groups decided that they were going to wage the Afghan Jihad.
You keep talking about the Afghan Jihad. I'm actually asking you to focus on Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar.
Allow me, please.
Let me finish and then you answer. Let me finish. This is what...
Allow me to finish, then I will allow you to ask your next question. Otherwise, I will get up and go. The point is that they started in Afghanistan. They started in Afghanistan. They then splintered off into Al-Qaeda and other groups, including those groups that went on to call the Kashmir Jihad. In that context, obviously, there were those in Pakistan's society, in Pakistan's politics, that did not oppose such groups.
So you do accept that Pakistani groups funded and trained by the ISI were attacking India and Kashmir? You do accept that then?
Pakistani groups or individuals who were from Pakistan were trained by the international community to conduct jihad within the context of Afghanistan. Like my father is saying, like many have said, this is the past, this is what happened in the past. Then Pakistan went through an entire process, and that process India is ignoring.
No, forgive me. You haven't stopped the attacks on India. Let's come to the most recent horrific attack in Pahalgam in April. You went around the world claiming that Pakistan was not involved. Let me give you one solid reason that proves Pakistan was. Within 45 minutes of that attack happening, and before anyone in India knew it had happened, the Resistance Front, an offshoot of the Lashkar-e-Taiba, which is a listed US and UN terrorist organization, claimed credit. This is the same group that India has on 3 separate occasions attempted to have listed at the UN as a terrorist entity, but was blocked by China acting on Pakistan's behalf. And then after Pahalgam, Pakistan itself refused to allow the Resistance Front to be named in the UN Security Council statement. What greater proof can there possibly be that Pakistan is shielding and protecting the Resistance Front?
Karan, you haven't allowed me to answer the first question. The point of the matter is, we've talked about the past. Can we talk about the present also?
We are.
And what has happened?
What has happened in April?
What happened post the statements of dictator Musharraf and the statements of President Zardari? Pakistan went through a process where we not only took military action against terrorist groups within Pakistan, various terrorist groups within Pakistan, including the terrorist operation that was started in my father's government after the assassination of Sheikh Mohtamma Benazir Bhutto in South Waziristan. Then in the following government in North Waziristan, we implemented a national action plan. As far as our actions against the groups of concern to India, most recently, we went through a rigorous FATF process where the international community endorsed for Pakistan's actions against said terrorist groups.
Mr. Zardari, if that was meaningful, no, you have to let me...
Excuse me, I haven't completed the point. So the international community endorses that Pakistan took actions against said group. India claims...
What the international community is not aware of...
International community is very well aware. The FATF is a very rigorous process that continues, that has a complete monitoring mechanism. So it's not like you can hide from the FATF. And as far as the Pahalgam attack is concerned, the Indian government claims that Pakistan was involved